Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Council Meeting number 575. Before we get into the regular order of business tonight, we do have some proclamations to take care of and other business. So I'll get right into the proclamations. And we do have some guests that'll join us in a minute as well for one of those proclamations. I see everybody colorfully dressed down back, proudly wearing their attire. First one is for Volunteer Week. It's a proclamation that says, whereas the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor recognizes the enormous contribution that volunteers and community organizations make to social, cultural, and economic development of our province. And whereas it has been recognized that volunteers in Newfoundland and Labrador have a significant and positive impact on the quality of life for our citizens. And whereas the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor acknowledges the theme, Volunteering Weaves Us Together, for Volunteer Week 2023 and recognizes the many people who contribute to our town by volunteering. Therefore, we sign this proclamation and declare the period from April 16th to the 22nd, 2023 to be observed as Volunteer Week in Grand Falls-Windsor. The next one is an upcoming proclamation that will take place before our next council meeting. It's for Mental Health Week. Whereas CMHA Mental Health Week promotes mental health awareness through education campaigns, activities, and events held across Newfoundland and Labrador, and offers practical ways to maintain and improve mental health and support recovery from mental health problems and illnesses. Whereas the Canadian Mental Health Association encourages everyone to share their story by using hashtags MyStory and hashtag Mental Health Week to shine a light on your personal journey, a program you offer, and how your community supports the mental health of others. Whereas increased awareness and understanding of mental health will promote the use of mental health services and supports and ensure Canadians with mental health-related illnesses are afforded the opportunity to recover. Whereas the Canadian Mental Health Association actively supports and encourages good mental health in all aspects of our lives during CMHA Mental Health Week and throughout the year. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Barry Manuel, the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor, do hereby proclaim the week of May 1st to May the 7th, 2023 as CMHA Mental Health Week. I encourage all citizens to join me and share your story by using hashtags MyStory and hashtag Mental Health Week to shine a light on your personal journey, a program you offer, and how your community supports the mental health of others. Now, for the third one, we're going to ask our friends from the Parkinson's Society, local, to come up front and join us, if you will, please. Mr. Simmons?
Good evening, sir.
No stranger to the council chamber?
No stranger to the chamber.
We keep going if you don't mind there.
To this part of it, I am.
That's right. Yeah, you're usually in the back of the room, hey?
Back of the room.
So if we can spread out behind me here. And we're going to sign the proclamation. I'll read it, but I'm wondering if anybody wanted to say a few words on behalf of the group?
No, it's all there on the proclamation.
All there on the proclamation. I don't believe there's a lot of shy people there. Okay. Now, Robin may want you to gather in a little closer there if you want to get a picture.
Sure.
You let me know when you're ready. Good.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Parkinson's Society of Newfoundland and Labrador, Parkinson's Awareness Month. This is to let all members of council and all citizens of Grand Falls-Windsor know that April is Parkinson's Awareness Month. Over 1,500 families in Newfoundland and Labrador live with Parkinson's disease, a neurodegenerative disease which causes tremors, slowness and stiffness, impaired balance, rigidity of muscles, and trouble speaking and swallowing. Parkinson's affects men and women equally and is not a natural part of aging. Parkinson's Society Newfoundland and Labrador is the provincial voice of people living with Parkinson's. Through research, education, advocacy, and support services, The Society endeavors to ease the burden for all those affected by Parkinson's. Exercise is proven to be very beneficial for people living with Parkinson's, and a free exercise class takes place every week in Grand Falls, Windsor at the NL Balance and Dizziness Center on Queensway. That's at the Excite building. I invite all citizens of Grand Falls, Windsor to join me and council in recognizing Parkinson's Awareness Month 2023. And I assume this third copy is for you guys. Or is this the one for us to keep to put up? Anybody? Keep this one? Okay, we'll put that up downstairs. We'll give you guys a copy to take with you. And last chance, if you wanted to let anybody know. I know every year there's a walk for Parkinson's. What is the usual date of that? October? September.
I think it's the 24th this year.
The 24th of September.
I
And
think.
opportunity for people to get together and collect some sponsors. And
You'll be reminded.
I'm sure I will. You reminded me every other year since I've been here, so I got no doubt you'll remind me again. And probably more than once too. But good for you, I appreciate that.
He's the big collector. He collects all of them.
He collects all the money.
Yeah, the most.
Ours is a great fundraiser, yeah.
Yeah,
Still a few I haven't got.
I'm sure you'll get them.
I'm trying.
Well, listen, on behalf of council and behalf of the town, everybody, thanks for everything you do. I know I see a lot of faces here that volunteer for more than just the Parkinson's Society as well, and it's Volunteer Week.
Yeah.
So I'd like to wish you all a happy Volunteer Week as well. And all the best with your endeavors, and thanks for doing what you do. And thanks for coming down this evening. We appreciate
you very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
We'll give those folks a few minutes now to get their stuff together and get out of here. Okay, with that, we'll get the meeting started. I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the adoption of the minutes from meeting number 574. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Little, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion on the previous meeting's minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? No business arising. We'll move on to the disbursement report. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report dated April 6, 2023 in the amount of $1,086,354.61.
It's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Committee reports. First up is Community Services. Deputy Mayor Brown, please.
Mayor. Community Services Committee met 5 p.m. Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Those in attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance were Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer, and Todd Mercer, our Director of Community Services. First order of business, Mayor, was the activity report. The Director and staff provided an update on economic development initiatives and special events planned for 2023. Special event updates included seniors programs, salmon festival lineup, poutine festival, Rib Festival, Culinary Festival, and the Craft Beer Festival. The committee was also updated about some new programs focusing on mental health, new residents, and the possibility of a fun competition with local restaurants called Burger Wars. Economic development updates included discussion about ATV trails planning and the town's new website. Sarah Kelly, Manager of Leisure Services, attended the meeting at 5:10 p.m. and was excused at 5:40 p.m. Lawrence Ducey, Manager of Economic Development, attended the meeting at 5:30 p.m. and was excused at 6:10 p.m. Promotional items. The committee discussed the restocking of town promotional items for the coming summer season. The Director of Community Services gave an update on the remaining inventory and a recommendation on what should be replaced. The committee recommended that the Director look at purchasing some of the popular items that are low now and look at the supply again in the fall. Concrete options correspondence. The committee reviewed correspondence from a Newfoundland business promoting the products available. The committee recommends that if any benches are required, the Director of Community Services should contact any local contractors to see if they can be manufactured here. Skateboard park funding. The committee had some discussion on the opportunity to expand the skateboard park with funding from both the provincial and federal governments. The committee recommends that the Director of Community Services meet with the engineering staff to develop a plot plan of the new equipment at the Shenandoah Centennial Park site to see what can fit, and that any new equipment should focus on the younger skateboarders. The committee also recommends that a discussion on the recommended equipment be brought back to the next meeting. Active Living Funding Approval. The committee reviewed the letter from Active Living Fund confirming the approval of the town's application for a new seniors and kids program, including some related equipment. Multiculturalism Funding Approval. The committee was updated on the approval of provincial government funding to help with the 2023 Salmon Festival Multicultural Night event, Food from Around the World, on Saturday night, July 15th. Y2C requests. The Director discussed a request from Y2C to fix the paving in their parking lot. Public Works staff did look at the lot, but it is deteriorated beyond simple repairs. Staff will follow up with Y2C with some suggestions. Joe Burns Stadium Ice Plant. The Director of Community Services informed the committee that they have experienced issues with one of two motors that run the ice plant. The committee recommended that the Director work with the Public Works staff to find a replacement motor and arrange to have it installed. Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium 75th Anniversary. The committee has some discussion on the first event of the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium 75th Anniversary celebrations. It will be an open carnival skate to be scheduled for April 23rd, 2023. It will be a free event where both adults and kids will dress up in costumes and skate around. There will be prizes for best decorated adult, child, and family, and hot chocolate and popcorn will be provided. Salmon Festival 2023. The committee recommends that the Director and his staff plan the release of details for the 2023 Exploits Valley Salmon Festival for a date at the end of April. The committee recommends that the Director give an update at the next meeting. General skating. The committee discussed the general, family, and preschool skating schedule for the rest of the year. The committee recommends that all activities be moved to Windsor Stadium when the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium closes on April 23rd. Kitchen Party Theatre Group. The committee discussed the Kitchen Party Theatre Group schedule for 2023. The Director of Community Services informed the committee that his staff have been in contact with the group to finalize the schedule for 2023 and help them promote and support their events. The Director also informed the committee that he will work with the group for the upcoming season and have them perform at several of the town's community events, including the Salmon Festival and a tribute night to the late Gordon Pinsent. Special Olympics Provincial Winter Games. The committee had some discussion about the Special Olympics Provincial Winter Games weekend events that just concluded. Council received many positive comments from the organizing committee and the public about the tremendous level of support and effort shown by town staff to ensure events were successful. Councillors also received similar praise about the dozens of volunteers and the organising committee members themselves. The committee recommends that the Community Services Department work with the organising committee to have a thank you appreciation night for the organisers, coaches and volunteers. April 5th and 6th were the suggested dates, and the committee could consider when planning for this event. Other business. The committee discussed an option to repurpose the coffee room shop at the Joe Burr Memorial Stadium as a meeting room. The committee recommended that the Director of Community Services investigate other options for a boardroom within the arena and bring back the findings at a future meeting. The meeting was adjourned at 7:30 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Please moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, second by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the community services minutes? Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to highlight some of the stuff that the Deputy Mayor said there. Sarah McIntosh delivered some of the activities and events that we have coming up for the spring, fall, summer seasons, and it's packed full again, which is a testament to the hard work that she puts in and the people that work with her, and our director himself as well. So for me, I'm particularly looking forward to the Poutine Festival. And that's always a popular one, and I think the tickets go on sale April 19th, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., right? And last year sold out 21 minutes or something. So if people want those tickets, I would suggest being on that website at 10 a.m. And that goes for any of our events. They sell out quick, so if you want your tickets, you got to get there early. One other thing was the general skating. We're moving that's the morning ones, right? That we're moving out to the Windsor Stadium starting next week. Next week. So if people, the preschool skating and the general and adult skating, they're still happening, but they're happening at the Windsor Stadium. So for people who attend those, and there are quite a few, I think, make sure you go to the right stadium. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Little. Any other comments? Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, just a few comments on the 75th anniversary of the Joe Burr Memorial Stadium. The events start happening on April 23rd, I think it is, with the carnival. And people that were here for a lot of years, like myself, will remember the carnival was a big event at the stadium back in the day, and most of the community took part, kids, families, adults, and everybody dressed up and came down and took part in that carnival event. So that'll be the kickoff for the 75th anniversary. And we'll continue our celebrations at the Salmon Festival dinner and throughout the Salmon Festival weekend. And hopefully next year the Cataracts will be back in action, and that'll be a good way to end the 75th anniversary to welcome that senior hockey team back to town. But people should keep in contact with our Facebook page and look for all the great events, including this carnival event. Everybody's looking forward to that. And I know we'll see a huge crowd at the stadium that evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, as I mentioned to Council, it brings me back almost 50 years when my grandmother, God rest her soul, had me in the carnival every year. And I know in the skating event, I was the riddle man one year. You remember how the old tins of Coca-Cola, and they always had something at the bottom of them. It was either Star Wars or, this particular time period, it was riddles. So I had this red costume on and nothing but bottoms of tins that were cut out all over me. So I'm not sure if it would be CSA approved this day and age or not, but nonetheless, it was packed at the time, and good memories, Gust Moose and everything else like that. So I'm sure we'll see a good crowd, and glad that we're able to do it. Any other comments or anything on the community services minutes? No? I got a couple things. One thing is the skate park. Obviously, that's something that, we received funding for and we're excited about. We do expect that'll give increased usage to the park, and as it says in the minutes there'll be a lot of focus put on trying to get additional equipment for the younger kids and the older kids as well. But we do find, at times the younger kids have difficulty finding a spot, and we would look probably to have some dedicated space for them as well in this upgrade. And incidentally, it won't take away much space in the parking lot there, because we're actually going to go in near the fence that goes in front of the field entrance. But nonetheless, good news for sure. The coffee shop, yeah, well, the good to see that we're going back and having a look at it. I know I had some people call, I wasn't aware that that was going ahead, as you know, and I mentioned that in the committee. I don't believe it's a good idea, and I think we need to look at different options. I understand that we're pressed for space in a big way, but I also understand that that canteen space is used, particularly for small children and that at tournaments when parents want to go in with their kids and sit around for a while, and other people use the canteen as well. So, I'm glad to see it there, and I'm sure that we'll come up with other options given that it is our only canteen space. At least that's the way I feel. The other thing is the Special Olympics. There's one thing I wanted to show off here. And recently we had a thank you for the volunteers of the Special Olympics. Deputy Mayor was there. I know there was other councilors there. I was unable to make it that night, but this is what the Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador presented to the town for hosting this year. So obviously a lovely piece with some of the medals there, and you see some pictures of the athletes and the games themselves. And it says Rise Again, Winter 2023. And we will display that proudly somewhere in the town and maybe even at different locations so we can get lots of eye traffic. But I did want to mention that and show it off. Okay. I'll give you one last chance for discussion on the community services before we move on. Hearing none, we got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, next up is corporate services. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Following are the minutes for corporate services held 5 p.m. Thursday, April 6th, 2023. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance were Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 13. Total labor was $813,817. This was $46,324, or 5.4% under budget. The committee is pleased with the results of the labor budget and recommends that staff continue to monitor labor costs going forward. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $1,086,354.61 and recommends this be presented at the next council meeting. Taxation receivables analysis. The committee reviewed the taxation analysis for March 2023. The report analyzes the receivable balances along with the amounts collected during the month. Total taxation receivable as of March 31st, 2023 was $8,087,589.58, a decrease of $223,081.79, 0.68% from the previous year. Total amount of taxes collected in March 2023 was $9,235,605. While the deadline to pay your taxes was March 31st, 2023, residents and businesses are still reminded to pay your tax bills as soon as possible to limit any interest charges. Please contact the Town Hall to pay your bill or to set up a payment plan. Tender summary, Circular Road pipe repair. The committee reviewed a tender summary for project number 17 MYCW 23-00000 Circular Road pipe repair, clean out manhole install. There were 3 bids on the project. The committee recommends awarding the project to W. Reed Construction Limited in the amount of $248,331 plus HST, $11,477 below the original estimate. COVID-19 vaccination policy. The committee discussed H.R. 28 COVID-19 vaccination policy and recommended that this policy be rescinded. The meeting adjourned at 6:45 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Any discussion on the corporate services minutes? Councillor Cody.
I'll just comment, see, it was in the minute there on a different piece of work for Circular Road, but I did want to note that the tender was awarded last May for the large piece of work that's going to be happening on Circular Road there. And we're expecting that to start sometime in May. And that will be a very large project with lots of disruptions in the area, but much needed work that needs to be done. So, you know, it's spring and it's construction season, so you can expect that to start popping up all over town now. But that will be a major project. We'll keep our residents updated, you know, as we get closer to that and have a fixed date as to when that's going to start. But again, welcome news for the community for sure, and especially for the residents of that area.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think just one correction in time. I think the tender was awarded last May, the tender was awarded. I believe it was later in the year when the actual tender was
Later in
awarded.
the year, because we were waiting on environment.
Right, there was other things going on. I mean, I can understand because this has been going on. We first asked to get funding for this project about 4 years ago, and have been asking ever since. So finally, we will see work starting down there soon, and obviously, it's something we are excited about. And I should mention as well, you know, you mentioned work going on, and anybody who was out and about town today may have seen some of our municipal employees out getting prepared for painting lines. I saw them out on Harris Avenue, rather. And, you know, so just ask residents, motorists particularly, to slow down, be careful. They had their signs out well in advance to let the drivers know that there was work on the go. And of course, you know, they're out in the middle of a very busy street there trying to complete the work, so please, please, slow down, watch out for the workers, and be safe. Okay, any other comments on the corporate services minutes? Hearing none, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, we do have a resolution there to take care of. Councillor Dwyer, if you would, please.
This is Resolution GFW 2023-363, Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Funding. Whereas the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor qualifies for funding under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ICIP Fund, whereas all projects and funding allocation under these agreements must be approved through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, Municipal Infrastructure, whereas the cost-shared funding for this agreement is as follows. Provincial contribution, $147,562. Federal contribution, $147,606. And municipal contribution, $147,562. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor agrees to enter into an agreement under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program for the Centennial Field Skateboard Park Upgrades Project Number 17, CCR 23-00006, totaling $442,730 after the GST/HST rebate.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. Okay, next up we have Committee of the Whole. Now, we did notice that normally we'd have a couple of sets of minutes in advance, but this meeting only took place last evening. It was Easter week and everything else, and there was a lot of jockeying for times trying to get all our meetings in, and there are always a lot of meetings. So what we're going to do here is we'll ask for a motion to separate one item out of the minutes, because Councillor Dwyer will excuse herself, as she did in the committee meeting yesterday. So I'd ask for someone to make a motion to remove the item which is regarding the rezoning on St. Catherine Street. So it's moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the motion to separate? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take care of the other minutes first, unless you want to leave. Okay, have it your way. You go ahead. Councillor Dwyer is going to excuse herself, and we'll go ahead and take care of that minute, Deputy Mayor, when you're ready. Please.
Committee of the Whole met 5 p.m. Monday, April 17th, 2023. In attendance were myself as Chair, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance, Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development, Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services, and Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer. St. Catherine Street rezoning. The committee welcomed Mr. Dula Gill as a guest at 6:30 p.m. Mr. Gill wanted to meet with the committee to discuss his request to rezone land where the former Millcrest Gymnasium was located, to accommodate a warehouse for the Health Board Medical Supplies Distribution Centre. Mr. Gill informed the committee that he wasn't successful in getting the tender, so wanted to pause his request for rezoning until he can assess his options. The committee recommends that the rezoning request be paused until we get more information from Mr. Gill, and that staff continue to work closely with Mr. Gill to support his interests in developing this parcel of land. Mr. Gill left the meeting at 7 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report to this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the first set of committee of the whole minutes? Okay, I'll have a quick comment, I guess. That's pertaining to, of course, the Millcrest rezoning, which was submitted by council as per the process, I don't know, a month and a half or so ago, a couple of months ago. And we have had some feedback from residents about that in the meantime. We did, however, before we get a chance to get back to that, Mr. Gill has kind of rescinded part of his proposal for now and wants to revisit that. Unfortunately, in some respects, because there was a tender for the Provincial Health Board, which would, for 20 years, that would have saw potentially 10 jobs here for Grand Falls-Windsor as a distribution site. And we didn't quite get to the point where we could get all the information together, and unfortunately, the tender didn't wait. And it was awarded, I believe, to Corner Brook. So there'll be a distribution center in East and one in Central West, which will be located in Corner Brook. So it's disappointing, of course, that we lost that, but that's the way it goes. But in the meantime, we have also talked to Mr. Gill for other possibilities for that property. We talked already about residential being part of that potentially. We do know there's additional land there as well that's owned by the RC Diocese that may become available, and we still have a gymnasium there. So, you know, the last thing we want is another dilapidated school that becomes an invitation for a hangout and ends up in vandalism and sometimes fire. So let's hope that we can work with Mr. Gill or some other proponent, but he right now is the owner of that property. Of course, he purchased it probably within the last year or so, or maybe a year ago. I just thought it was important to mention that. So that is kind of off the table, I guess, for now. Okay, any other comments on the first set of minutes? Hearing none, we already have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. We'll wait for Councillor Dwyer to return. Deputy Mayor, no need to go through all the names again, I don't think, unless you want to.
No.
You can just get right into same attendees. So when you're ready, if you would do the second set of minutes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The first order of business was the Shallop Centre, the former Knights of Columbus building. The committee discussed a proposal from the family of the late Dr. Mandavia to donate the Shallop Centre on Church Road to the town. The committee was very appreciative of this generous offer, but prefers that the family first consider other non-profit organizations, community groups, or consider selling the building to a private interest to be used for a suitable purpose. Although the committee recognizes the historical significance and character of the building, they do not have an identified purpose for usage and is also concerned with the potential capital expenditures due to necessary repairs or renovations. The committee is also concerned with the future operational cost of the building regardless of its identified use. If other options are explored without success, the committee was willing to resume discussions of a possible donation with the family, but would investigate further the estimated costs associated at that time. The committee thanks Mrs. Mandavia and her family for their kind offer, and the town was considered as a potential donor. Land for housing development. The committee welcomed Mr. Trevor Hicks as a guest at 6 p.m. Mr. Hicks was concerned about his inability to acquire land to construct a multiple unit property. He is requesting that council consider rezoning land on Main Street West to accommodate multi-use construction or facilitate making land available somewhere in town for this purpose. The committee recommends staff give priority to the issue of identifying land for multi-unit buildings. Mr. Hicks left the meeting at 6:30 p.m. Queensway rezoning. The committee revisited council's earlier discussion to allow land on Queensway to develop multi-unit housing if a road was constructed. The committee wants staff to look for other options to enable multi-unit housing development because constructing a road and installing services is cost prohibitive for landlords who are only interested in building housing units. The committee recommends staff look for land options to develop multi-unit housing and to engage local developers to determine if they have options for making such land available. Bike rodeo. The committee discussed the concept of municipal enforcement organizing a bike rodeo for children in grades K to 6. The rodeo is intended to promote safe use of bicycles while having fun. The committee recommends that staff plan this event. Traffic lights, intersection at Pinson Drive and Cromer Avenue. The committee reviewed a tender to replace the traffic lights at the intersection of Cromer Avenue and Pinson Drive and to improve the paving. The committee recommends the tender be awarded to Penny's Paving in the amount of $433,893.85. Skateboard park. The committee reviewed an offer from government and the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Fund to expand the skateboard park at Shenandoah Centennial Park. The total funding for this project is $488,214 and is funded 33.33% by the town. The committee recommends this offer be accepted and staff will report back to the committee about equipment choices in a future meeting. Equipment, walk-behind sand cleaner. The committee reviewed a tender result for a walk-behind sand cleaner for grooming the ball fields. The committee recommends that the tender be awarded to H. Barber & Sons Incorporated in the amount of $27,526.74. Fall Craft Show. The committee discussed the Fall Craft Show set for May 13, 2023. Last year, many tables were reserved, but individuals reserving the tables didn't show up, while at the same time, the town had a waiting list of individuals wanting a table. The committee recommends that a non-refundable fee of $20 be charged to reserve tables. I'll move the recommendations of this report of this committee. Mayor, thank you.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Cody. Any discussion on the second set of committee of the whole minutes? Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to add a little bit in about our skateboard park, and I'm hoping that the director and company would put some effort into some extra signage in there to just remind all those users about proper usage, because lots of times people go in there, they don't know about the expectations, and I've been in there with some other people picking up their children, et cetera, there, and they see things that are on the go, and they've commented to me that a little bit of signage here and there would inform perhaps other parents of what's expected of their children to go in when they use the park. And lastly, I just think that the name Fall Craft Show should be changed to the spring, if we're going to have it in May. Just, thanks.
I think you called it fall last night. Yeah, we said fall last night.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there any other comment, discussion on the second set of committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none, I got a few things there. First off is I guess there's a couple of minutes here that refer to the same thing. And coincidentally, at the last public council meeting here, I spoke to the fact that we're in a very challenging situation when it comes to housing in our community. And I know council have been discussing this and ways to improve that and to overcome that challenge. And as I noted at the last meeting, a lot of the land that could be available in town is privately owned. And of course, it's up to the owners of that property of how they would proceed. And we talked a lot about making land available in town, so, nothing formal has been done yet, but I can assure everybody that council has made it a priority to get staff to look again throughout the town, identify the land and the ownerships, and get the contractors together, talk to some of the landowners, basically bring everybody together in a fair, transparent process to see what we can do to push things along development-wise. And that may include some investment from council, whether that be in the form of upfront costs that could be repaid with lots or units being sold in the future, or infrastructure such as pavement, water, sewer, lift stations. We understand that we've got an issue around housing in a lot of different categories, if you can call them that. We've got people who want to move into town because they've got good jobs awaiting them, and many in healthcare, which we all know how badly we're hurting for that. So the last thing we want is for people to be turned away because of the unavailability of accommodations and housing. And we also want to make sure that there's always housing available for people who may want to move to Grand Falls-Windsor. The other thing is we have a lot of people in our town who may be retired or up in age and are looking to get out of the home they may have had for a long period of time, and decades in many cases, and move into something like a single level, a unit like some of the duplexes and that we see around town. And unfortunately, there's not many of those around. There's a long list. I talked to a lot of the people who own those, and they have long waiting lists. And unfortunately, it comes to a point where some people, if they have nowhere to go, well, inevitably, they'll have to leave. And that's why this is such an important issue for council. And of course, the other category is for low-income housing and the need for low-income housing. In the last couple of years, we've seen Marathon Gold ramp up its operations in terms of getting ready for production next year. We've got a lot of activity in healthcare, and especially when it comes to locums for physicians and other specialists and traveling nurses. And so a lot of the short-term accommodations and a lot of the rentals have been taken up by corporate business or by the health authority, and unfortunately we're finding other people not able to find places. So developments like the one proposed by Mr. Gill, where there would see a lot of those style units, or the one that we were talking about on Queensway, or others, would be good for the town. Every additional unit, or every additional house, or anything that we can get, it is a benefit, because, it'll open up for someone else. So, we had a good chat about it last night, and I believe that we're all committed to doing this as quickly as possible. We do know when it comes to rezoning sites that making them appropriate for this kind of development, it is a prescribed legislative process, and that can take months and sometimes up to a year or more. But the fact is, we've got to identify the land. We've got to make sure that the developers who wish to get into that sort of business, I guess, in our town, that there's opportunities available for them. So anybody wants to talk further about that, whether you're a contractor out there or a citizen who's having trouble, or knows someone who wants to come to town, or any of the potential developers, let us know, and we'd be happy to talk to you a little more. And we will be reaching out with some, looking for some interest from people to get involved in that discussion to make sure that we do this right. But it is a huge issue for sure. The other thing is quickly the sand cleaner. That's for the ball fields. We have 5 ball fields in town, of course, and there's minor baseball that takes part. There's 300 or 400 kids enrolled in that usually. We host a bunch of tournaments in that every year. And we have the ball fields that the slow pitch leagues use, the mixed league particularly. I believe the men's league had some trouble getting going last year, so hopefully that's up and running again. But despite the fact that you may roll a field or rake it, once it's played on for a while, seems like there's endless rocks. And anybody that's played any kind of ball will know that's a big danger, a big safety issue. So this piece of equipment is going to allow our staff to be able to push a rock picker, I guess is a word for it, and be able to clean up the field so that it's safer and better for playing ball. And I'd suggest there's probably other purposes for that as well. I think about the volleyball sand court and other activities that go on grass surfaces around town where you may get some rocks come up. And the last thing I was going to mention was the old KFC building, the Schlap Center. And it's noted in the minutes there that there was an offer made by the Mandavia family. And it's difficult, when you would really like to do something, I guess, with your heart. But when you really think about it, is it the right thing for council to do? So, as is indicated there, we want to give the family some time to find other suitable groups, organizations, individuals, businesses, whatever, that would want to use that building. We do want to see it maintained. But when you consider taking over such an old building, and structurally, there's a lot of apparent issues. There's windows that need to be replaced. There's a roof that's going to need to be done. If whatever was going to go in that, or is going to go in that building, is going to be some renovations required. So, you start looking at a big cost for the town, capital-wise, and then we're not even talking about the ongoing operations of the building going forward. We have a lot of buildings in our inventory in town, and it's a job to keep up with them as it is, with the amount of money that we had to work with. So council felt that for now we were going to pass on that, but I thought it was important just to provide a little more context. Okay, any other comments on the second set of committee of the whole minutes? No, we're going to move her in a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, any notice of motion? No notice of motion. We'll move into other business. I believe, Councillor Cody, I think you're up first tonight. Okay, go ahead. If you're ready, go.
The Shore Sauna Spring is the sweeper is out, and it's our new sweeper, so we're extra excited. And not just that it's out and being operational, but that it is our new sweeper. So that's always exciting to see that. So that means that once the sweeper gets out, the roads get clean. That means motorcycles can get out. It's it's a safety concern for a lot of people on motorcycles that someone who doesn't ride a motorcycle wouldn't really understand. But any type of debris or anything like that on the roadways is certainly a hazard for motorcyclists. So, and it also means that construction work is going to happen, as I mentioned earlier. So, and the mayor mentioned the dotting, getting prepared for line painting and things like that. So that's good news. The town cleanup, we have issued the dates for the town cleanup. That will go ahead from May 23rd to June 9th. If we need extra time, we'll add extra time, but those are the fixed dates for now. The schedule has been posted to our Facebook page and our website and tweeted as well. So you can look at the Facebook page or any of the social media sites and find out exactly what date your street is scheduled for. And again, they're fixed dates on the schedule, but depending on whether the amount of items to be collected, we may be ahead of schedule, we may be behind schedule, but we'll just keep you updated as we're going along. And a reminder that you're not supposed to have your items out until 24 hours, is it 24 or 48? 48 hours before your scheduled date of pickup. So I know people get excited and start to do the spring clean and start to put it out earlier, but really 48 hours before your scheduled pickup date. Our anti-litter campaign has started. The Director of Parks and Recreation or Community Services has contacted some of the volunteer groups who normally participate in that. And the gloves and garbage bags are ordered, so we'll be ready to start that very soon. So if there are other organizations in town who want to participate in that, we do give a small stipend to user groups for helping do that. And if you drive around town, there's certainly no shortage of work that can be done for cleanup. A lot of people out this weekend with the good weather cleaning up their gardens and around their yards, and it's great to see so much community pride. So we want to get our business areas and our main routes around town as well cleaned up. So looking forward to that happening as well. The playground, skate park, basketball court, the warm weather is certainly drying everybody out. So again, just be extra cautious as you're moving around town. Watch out for kids. They're out playing, they're on their bikes or going to the playgrounds, just having lots of fun as kids should. So again, just be careful. Our speed bumps and our playgrounds usually don't go out until the long weekend in May. That'll be a reminder at that point to slow down, but we're asking you now as well to slow down and just be aware. And the Exploits Valley High School will be doing their presentation of the musical Mamma Mia on May 12th, 13th, and 14th. Friday and Saturday, May 12th and 13th, the show is at 7:30, and Sunday, May 14th, is at 2:30. There are limited tickets available for each show right now, so if you are planning to attend that show, I suggest you go on the Gordon Pinsent Center for the Arts website and purchase your tickets online, or visit the box office during their regular hours to get your tickets, because I imagine they're limited now. I would imagine there'll be none left very soon. I'm really looking forward to that presentation. The school does a great job every single year. Mamma Mia was actually the presentation when COVID hit, so it obviously did not go ahead, and then last year they did Footloose, and they're doing the Mamma Mia now this year. So I know the kids have put in a ton of work on the musical, as well as Miss Clark and Mr. Sims and all of the other volunteers and teachers who have been involved in getting ready. So certainly get out and support Exploits Valley High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items for myself this evening. To add to what Councillor Cody had said, the snow is melting, and it leaves behind the evidence of some negligent behavior, for lack of a better terminology, here this evening. The dog feces, the dog poop seems to be abundant, and it just amazes me that people walk their dogs here. Perhaps they just let the dogs roam free, which they shouldn't in the meantime, but the dog poop is everywhere. I encourage homeowners to collect it, put it in the bag, and properly dispose of it, versus using all the town's facilities all winter long, the parks, the fields, etc., and then just expecting somebody else to come by and clean up after themselves. I just find that's pretty small of the dog owners, who I would hope that would be a little more cognizant of what the dog leaves behind each time that they use a town facility. I'll leave it there. Other than the litter in the parking lots, I'm asking residents to be the bigger persons. Every morning I go to Tim Hortons and I clean up a few coffee cup lids, and I show a few friends I know that hang out there that they've missed them mistakenly in the morning. They missed the lids or didn't see them. Same as Canadian Tire parking lot or Walmart parking lot. Just to be the bigger person and pick it up, put it in the back seat of your vehicle when you get home, when you get at the store entrance, perhaps, and put it in the garbage where it should be. As well, I'd like to take a second to add to our Poutine Fest, which last year, we sold out in less than half an hour. So the tickets are going to go on sale again tomorrow. And I don't know if I can put the director on the spot here this evening, but from where I standpoint, I'd like to fill the stadium. And we get limits and numbers and all that sort of stuff. I think last year we had 500, and it seemed like there was a little more than that. Perhaps they might have squeaked in through some of the cracks in the building. I'm not sure. But this year, Exploits TrailNet, in partnership with Great Canadian Trails, is going to host another event simultaneously and piggyback off of our Poutine Fest. And we have two groomer operators who have been with us for a long time, and they're retiring this year. And I'm going to encourage everybody to come out on June 3rd and participate. And I thank you for our two groomer operators. Sign the card, perhaps, and just come by and shake their hand and say thank you for years of dedication and volunteerism to try and make the trails as good as they can all winter long, and to say a final thank you and farewell to these two groomer operators. So we'll piggyback with our Poutine Fest this year. Thank you, Mayor.
Do you want to give them a personal shout-out, or are we going to wait?
Sure, well, I can say it right now. I don't know.
May as well.
Listen, the boys, the two groomer operators, I mean, they don't want any pat on the back. They did it because, just passion about snowmobiling and taking care of it. But Mr. Bill Sullivan and Mr. Roy Folks, I mean, they've been with us for, 16 plus years each, and they punched in countless thousands of hours building the bridges and cutting the trails, and then all winter long, trying to provide a product for riders in Central and to showcase our trails in Central to help build tourism in Central. So they've been integral into our development in the past, almost 2 decades. So big shout out to two of the boys, and come by on June 3rd and say thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I just thought they deserved to, I know they don't do it for that, but it deserved to be named for those who may be wondering. And just to add on to your comments of the dog poop, the facilities you're talking about, of course, are our baseball fields and our soccer fields and our playgrounds, all the places where, when the snow melts, it's kids in the community primarily who are using those facilities. So we, definitely would like for people to be a little more considerate and cooperative and clean up after your pet. And, of course, we have a dog park in town, specifically for people to take their dogs, and that is the opportunity and the location we would like for people to do that, and not our playgrounds and our ball fields. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of items here, and as Councillor Cody alluded to earlier, but regards to the beautiful weather and people getting out on the go, motorcycles are on the go now, and our biker friends. And I just want the motor vehicle operators to just be vigilant and watch for our motorcycle riders. A lot of people aren't aware of it yet this summer and spring, but just to be aware of that bikers are out, and also for the motorcycle riders themselves, be careful, because not all the streets are clean yet, and as a result there's still sand, and we call it marbles. Because when you're on a bike, you hit one of those, when you're on a turn, you're going down, right? So be very vigilant of that hazard that's still out there yet. Also, if I may, Mayor, the Hike for Hospice is coming up, and Council has a team under the direction of Councillor Dwyer, and I can't remember the exact date of the hike.
It's a week you can do it, I think it was June.
Yeah, it's 3rd to 10th or something like that. Yeah, but anyhow, we have a team, and if anybody wants to sponsor us or whatever the case may be, we more than welcome that for sure. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great event, great time. And also, we have a bunch of events coming up in our town. I mean, I'm very proud of it, the work that our people do to organize these. And we have a bunch of seniors events coming up now under the direction of Mr. Stan Singh through Todd Mercer's department. And we just want the people to be vigilant. Look at our Facebook page. There's always stuff coming up. There's lots of things that are available, and most of them, I tell people, are free. There's not many places you can go and have a great day with a lot of information, a lot of things there for you, and it's free. So, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of things coming up, Mr. Mayor, and we just tell the people just to keep an eye on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. This past week at our stadium, we hosted 2 minor hockey provincial tournaments. One was convened by Deputy Mayor Brown, another was the convener was Rod Bannister, and 1,000 other volunteers helped with both tournaments, and they went off, from what I can tell, very well. Our teams performed well. We had a silver in one tournament, and silver in both, or bronze in one? Fourth place in it. But anyways, they performed very well, and sportsmanship all around, I think, was from what I'm hearing. And we had other teams compete out throughout the province, and silver medals. I'm not sure if I've seen any gold medals, but we had plenty of silver medals and a lot of smiles in the pictures that I've seen. So that's good. It was a successful Easter week, and we had a lot of people in town for these tournaments: parents, volunteers, coaches, refs, and players. This weekend is the Sparkling Blaze Ice Show. year-end ice show. It's 4 o'clock on Saturday, I believe. Still some tickets left, I think. So if people want to do that, I think it's about $20 to get in, and it's usually a good show. And other years it's been sold out, so hopefully this year they get close to it again because it is a big fundraiser for them. And finally, a few other councillors mentioned so far, playgrounds are starting to fill up with kids. And I think Nelson Chapman and Todd Mercer knows what that means. I will be sending text messages soon about all the things that need to be fixed, or probably dog poop that needs to be picked up. But again, as Councillor Cody began with, that means there are kids around, and people need to be cognizant of that, especially our speed bumps are out, so people may not be thinking about that. So it is important that people realize that there are children around, and children sometimes have a tendency to run. So if that, if a child's in front of a car and the car is moving too fast, you don't have the opportunity to slow down, and tragedy happens. So hopefully everyone will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for sure, thanks. And I guess, one thing, you talk about the playgrounds and speed bumps, and we talked about the dog poop and the street cleaner being out. Snow went pretty quick. It was only a week or two ago. We had a lot of snow around, and you notice in the last couple of days particularly. So there's been a very small window to get going, and the street sweeper's been out pretty much constantly and will continue to, and hopefully we can get that cleared up. And hopefully the weather stays nice. It's still only the middle of April or just a little bit beyond that. So I think the forecast for the next week to 10 days is not the greatest. There's going to be some mixed snow and rain, that kind of stuff, if it holds. But we don't want any April snowstorms like sometimes we get with that 30, 40 centimeters. Did I jinx us? Hopefully not. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Got a lot of things off my list by the time it gets all the way around here. Amy mentioned that the spring cleanup starts May 23rd. The next Saturday drop-off is April 29th, and there's a household hazardous waste day on May 6th, so just to let residents know. I'd like to congratulate the Kiwanis Club on their recent music festival. We haven't had the opportunity to do that since it concluded. I attended the highlights show, and the talent in this town, the surrounding communities, is absolutely incredible. It's great to see that the organizers were able to bring it back to life post-COVID, and it certainly gives our youth an opportunity to develop confidence and a work ethic, and I'm sure that they will reap the benefits of that long after their years in the music festival. So congratulations and thank you to the organizers and volunteers and parents and music teachers for providing them with that opportunity. Great job. Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely, good to be able to hear and talk about all the shows and different events that are going on, and to know that it was only 2 or 3 years ago, I think myself for sure, and I'm sure everybody wondered if we would ever get back to having, in-person concerts and festivals and that sort of thing. So thankfully, we're back at that, and it's definitely great to be able to participate in a music festival going on in this community for well over 50 years now, thanks to the Kiwanis and many good volunteers, and I hear it was another great show again this year. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like a couple of things, like to acknowledge all the great volunteers we got in Grand Falls-Windsor. That makes our town such a great town. There's thousands of volunteers that go out of their way every week to ensure that the not-for-profit groups are organized and running. And like I said, they go out of their way every week to ensure that Grand Falls-Windsor is a great place to live. And for those who don't volunteer or do anything good for their community, I suggest that they try volunteering. I know there's a couple of groups always looking for volunteers, and one would be the Special Olympics local club, who are always calling out for volunteers. So I'd like for people to consider that, and for those who don't volunteer, it's a wonderful feeling, does your heart good, and makes us the best community in Newfoundland and Labrador. Keeping with volunteers, I'd like to acknowledge the Knights of Columbus, who took it upon themselves to make a financial contribution to Melvin Hanham's and his trip to Germany for the World Golf Championships. Last week they made a sizable presentation, so I'd like to acknowledge the Knights of Columbus and for their good work, and certainly they're made up of all volunteers as well. So thank you, Mayor. That's all I got for this evening.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. And you hear was a weave together, I think, they're weaving us together volunteering this year, and they've had a number of slogans, but one that I remember from several years ago was the very fabric of your community, volunteerism. And where would you be without volunteers? And I know these days people got very busy lives and, you know, tend to be less inclined to volunteer in some cases. And I know, you know, particularly when the Special Olympics provincials were on, and I was making my way around to some of the venues, and it struck me how I saw a lot of familiar faces. You know, we could definitely have a volunteer Hall of Fame here in Grand Falls-Windsor. People who have spent their whole lives volunteering, and that's not uncommon to see, you know. Usually volunteers, they'll volunteer for multiple things, and without them, really, where would we be? So it's important to recognize, and I'm glad you did that once again, Deputy Mayor. I do have a few things here. As Councillor Dwyer said, some of the things are off the list as we go around the room, and I'm always last. So, but I do get to jump in if I want to join, to jump onto some things. I got a couple things there. We talked about the music festival. We had the Provincial Drama Festival in town last week. And I was in St. John's for the week. My son had a basketball camp, so took me away. I did get back, though, in time for the Saturday night performance, which was the last one, and the awards ceremony. And I tell you, the one I saw was the West Coast from Corner Brook, and there was a bunch of different theater troupes, Labrador and Gander, Grand Falls-Windsor, Corner Brook. I'm missing someone. I'm not sure St. John's were there, you know. Anyhow, there was one more. It'll come to me. Nonetheless, I was amazed, like, of the talent and the acting. And there was a big crowd there, and I understand there was a big crowd there all week. And people were very pleased with the way things went. And again, a bunch of volunteers for the most part who made that go round, along with the great staff at the Gordon Pinson Center. I do want to recognize a couple of the award winners because they came from our local Northcliffe Drama Club. And the Northcliffe Drama Club has been operating in Grand Falls-Windsor for over 50 years and going on 60 years very soon. And two major award winners. First was no stranger to most people, and certainly no one on council, is Mr. John Whalen. And John was the recipient of the Best Male Supporting Actor. And it was great to see John recognized. And secondly, I know Scott Sims, the teacher, was mentioned there in his work with the musical. He was the best lead actor for male. So congratulations to those two. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see the local show. Maybe they'll consider doing it again sometime, and we can help put that off for those that didn't see it, because you know, it was really worthwhile watching, and it's something that has such a rich history here in town. So congratulations to them. The National Day of Mourning is coming up on April 28th, and that'll be held where it usually is, which is the Injured Workers Memorial on Lincoln Road. So that's just down from Riverview Motors, where the old gate entrance to the Abitibi property is. So if you want to come out and support that, I'm sure there'll be a lot of groups represented, and that's to recognize all the people who have been killed or injured in workplace injuries, so and accidents. So I hope that they get a good crowd for that. And that's 12 p.m., 12 noon on the 28th. Also, it was mentioned about the Lon O'Kellen Hospice and the hike. They also got their Smile Cookie campaign coming up. So from May 1st to the 7th, if you go to Tim Hortons, either location here in Grand Falls-Windsor and also in Bishops Falls, and buy a Smile Cookie, proceeds are going to the Lon O'Kellen Hospice. So fill up on the Smile Cookies. And thanks to everybody who's going to volunteer for that. And by the way, they are looking for volunteers. I'm not sure if all council were away, and there's a bunch of shifts there, so if you're available and interested, I'm sure they'd like for you to help out. I went out, the last couple of years, of course, they couldn't do it because of the COVID situation. But I remember the last time I was there, they put me on the icing where you got to put the smiles and that on. Well, I wasn't long there, and they had me taken off and put on something else because There was icing everywhere, including on me on the floor. They looked like pretty crooked cookies there because the smalls were upside down in some cases. Anyhow, it wasn't my calling. But they still tasted good, I bet, because I didn't bake them. What else did I have here? One last thing, and I won't get too deep into it, but I did want to mention, just to let everybody know, that we met with Minister Osborne since our last meeting here at Council in a lunch meeting, which took probably close to 2 hours, I guess. And once again, we had an opportunity to, discuss the issues particularly relevant with Grand Falls-Windsor and our hospital and the crowded wait rooms and the family physician issue and the people who are unable to have a family doctor because they've lost one and can't find another, and all else that is relevant to health. And, there's a lot of changes going to be coming down now. The Provincial Health Authority has officially started, and most people probably won't notice. There's still going to be regional councils and regional areas when it comes to the health board, but it is important to keep up on the health accord particularly and the decisions that are going to be made. And one thing, of course, that we brought up to the attention of Minister Osborne was the fact that our hospital has to be sustained for the long term, and that we serve such a huge region, not just Grand Falls-Windsor, but all the communities around here, stretching to Bayvert, to Buckens, to down to Harbor Breton. And, it's a huge area, and we want to make sure that we get the attention we deserve here when it comes to the future of healthcare and the decisions that will be made in the health accord. And I can't finish without acknowledging once again Cyril Farrell, who's the chair of our health coalition, the community coalition. And the amount of work that himself and the group who are on that committee do is just amazing on behalf of council, and it's really paying dividends. We've met with so many different physicians and government officials and anybody who has anything to do with health. I think we've either touched base with them or met with them now. And Cyril certainly has taken it very seriously and doing a lot of work. And, we just want people to know, because you hear sometimes, and I know I've gone off on health in this chamber lots of times, but I also recognize not everybody watches council meetings. But they are, available, and it's difficult to reach people these days. It's difficult to get the message out, but I want to let people know that we are standing up for our hospital and for Grand Falls-Windsor quite strongly, and will continue to do so. So with that, I don't know if anybody else has any last comments. If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion? I didn't think so. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded. We'll see you next time.
Where's a guy in steel toes covered in dirt, just a rock and roll t-shirt, headed to work with a pack of Red Man in his pocket. He's kinda red man, but he's rocking. Where's a beat up Tilly and a Marshall stack, little Marshall Tucker and a six-pack. Where's the good old boys and the good old days, straight up getting side